So today we'll be rucking for the officers in June, and I'll start off with William James Leahy, and then if somebody else can pick up Albert, and then we'll just go around. We'll go this way around. Police Officer William James Leahy died as a result of cancer that he developed during his assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site following the 9/11 terrorist attack. Officer Leahy had served with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Police Department for 26 years and was assigned to the John F. Kennedy International Airport. He is survived by his parents. If you get a September 11th one, you can read those first two paragraphs. The rest of it is all the same for each one. So whenever we get done, we'll go through the rest of the 9/11. So.
I vote for reading that last paragraph.
Do what?
Yeah, we'll read the last paragraph.
Yeah, I was just gonna have everybody read all the 9/11 ones, and whenever we get to the last one, or I could just start off with it. So I'll just lead off with it, and then whenever you get to 9/11, just do the first two paragraphs. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 72 officers from a total of 8 local, state, and federal agencies were killed when terrorist hijackers working for the Al-Qaeda terrorist network, headed by Osama bin Laden, crashed 4 hijacked planes into the World Trade Center towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. After the impact of the first plane in the World Trade Center's North Tower, putting the safeties of others before their own, law enforcement officers along with fire and EMS personnel rushed to the burning twin towers of the World Trade Center to aid the victims and lead them to safety. Due to their quick actions, it is estimated that over 25,000 people were saved. As the evacuation continued, the South Tower unexpectedly collapsed as a result of the intense fire caused by the impact. The North Tower collapsed a short time later. 71 law enforcement officers, 343 members of the New York City Fire Department, and over 2,800 civilians were killed at the World Trade Center site. A third hijacked plane crashed into a field in rural Pennsylvania when passengers attempted to retake control of the plane. One law enforcement officer, who was a passenger on the plane, was killed in that crash. The fourth hijacked plane was crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, killing almost 200 military and civilian personnel. No law enforcement officers were killed at the Pentagon on 9/11. The terrorist attacks resulted in the declaration of war against the Taliban regime, the illegal rulers of Afghanistan, and the Al-Qaeda terrorist network, which also was based in Afghanistan. On September 9th, 2005, all of the public safety officers killed on September 11, 2001 were posthumously awarded the 9/11 Heroes Medal of Valor by President George W. Bush. The contamination in the air at the World Trade Center site caused many rescue personnel to become extremely ill and eventually led to the death of several rescue workers. On May 1st, 2011, members of the United States military conducted a raid on the compound in Pakistan and killed Osama bin Laden. He was 49 years old to over 26 years.
Albert Ramirez Castaneda Jr. End of watch Friday, June 7th, 2019. Police officer Al Castaneda was struck and killed by a vehicle while running radar on the President George Bush Turnpike near Dickey Road at 10:30 a.m. The 17-year-old driver lost control of his vehicle and struck Officer Castaneda, throwing him off the elevated roadway. Officer Castaneda was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. Officer Castaneda was a U.S. Coast Guard veteran. He had served with the Grand Prairie Police Department for 5 years and had previously served with the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office for 6 years. He is survived by 2 children.
Esmeralda Ponce Ramirez. Police officer Esmeralda Ramirez succumbed to injuries sustained in a vehicle crash in 2015. She passed away after experiencing complications as a result of a required surgery related to her injuries. Officer Ramirez has served in the Los Angeles Police Department for 11 years and was assigned to the Pacific Division. She is survived by her 3 adult children. She was 49 years old.
David Jones Fitzpatrick. Sergeant David Fitzpatrick suffered a fatal heart attack after participating in the department's wellness program on 2019. He collapsed after returning to his office after working out. He was transported to the local hospital where he passed away on June 10th, 2019. Without having regaining consciousness, Sergeant Fitzpatrick was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and had served with the Colony Police Department for over 34 years. He is survived by his wife.
Deputy Sheriff Julius Jamal J. Daly. End of watch Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. Deputy Sheriff J. Daly was killed in a vehicle crash while responding to a burglary in the progress at 11:58 p.m. His patrol car left the roadway on a curve in the 1300 block of Highway 41 and overturned, causing him to suffer fatal injuries. He was extricated from the vehicle and transported to a local hospital where he passed away. Deputy Daly had served with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office for 2 years. He had previously served with the Alabama Department of Corrections, Thomasville Police Department, and Pine Hill Police Department for 8 years. He is survived by his daughter, age 29. He was served for 10 years.
Police Officer Stephen James Brown. Police Officer Brown suffered a fatal heart attack after completing a third day of leading the Port St. Lucie Police Athletics League's police camp. He was one of the camp's leaders as part of his summertime duties as a school resource officer. The camp involved 3 days of strenuous outdoor activities, including an obstacle course at the Navy UDT SEAL Museum. Officer Brown collapsed after returning home at the end of his shift on June 12th. Officer Brown had served with the Port St. Lucie Police Department for 14 years. He is survived by his wife, son, and daughter.
Trooper William Moden, Colorado State Patrol, Colorado. End of watch Friday, June 14, 2019. Trooper William Moden was struck and killed by a vehicle while assisting at the scene of an earlier crash on I-70 near mile marker 324 in Deer Trail, Colorado. He was checking on the occupants of one of the involved vehicles when another car struck him at approximately 9:40 p.m. Another trooper on the scene immediately began providing medical care. Trooper Moden was flown to the University of Colorado Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Trooper Moden had served with the Colorado State Patrol for 12 years, age 37.
Patrol Officer John David Hetland, the Racine Police Department of Wisconsin, and to watch Monday, June 17, 2019. Patrol Officer John Hetland, who was off duty, shot and killed while intervening in an armed robbery at 9:40 p.m. He observed the robbery occurring outside of a bar at 1936 Lathrop Avenue and took immediate police action. The subject opened fire, fatally wounding him. The subject then fled the scene and remained at large until being captured 10 days later. The man was charged for first-degree intentional homicide, armed robbery, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Officer Hetland had served with the Racine Police Department for 24 years and was preparing for retirement. He is survived by his 2 children and his parents, 49 years old. Police Officer Tara O'Sullivan. Police Officer, end of watch Wednesday, June 19, 2019. Police Officer Tara O'Sullivan was shot and killed at the scene of a domestic disturbance in the 200 block of Redwood Avenue at 6:10 p.m. She was standing in the yard while assisting a woman to retrieve belongings from a home when a male subject inside opened fire with a rifle, striking Officer O'Sullivan. The subject continued to fire at the officers, preventing them from reaching Officer O'Sullivan or rendering aid to her. Approximately 30 minutes later, an armored vehicle arrived and they were able to rescue her from the yard. She was transported to a local hospital where she succumbed to her wounds. The subject remained barricaded inside the home for several more hours while negotiators communicated with him. He surrendered at 2 a.m. the following morning. Officer O'Sullivan had served with the Sacramento Police Department for 6 months and previously served as a community service officer. Age 26, 2 or 6 months.
Corporal Jose Luis Speedy Espercita Jr. Corporal Jose Espercita was shot and killed as he and other officers attempted to apprehend a subject who had threatened family members. A woman flagged down officers in the area of Stewart Road and Business Highway 83 and held them and told them that her son had just shot at her car with a handgun. Corporal Espercita and other officers responded to the scene and located the subject, who then fled on foot. As the man ran, he turned and opened fire, striking Corporal Esposito multiple times. Other officers returned fire and killed the man. Corporal Esposito had served with the Mission Police Department for 13 years and had previously served with the San Benito Police Department for 5 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. He was 44.
Trooper Jerry Lewis Smith Jr. End of watch Thursday, June 20th, 2019. Trooper Jerry Smith was killed in a vehicle crash when his patrol car was struck head-on by another vehicle on Highway 26, 2 miles west of Bridgeport in Morrell County. An oncoming pickup truck crossed the center line after swerving to avoid another car that had stopped to make a left turn. The driver of the pickup truck was also killed in the crash. Trooper Smith was a U.S. Army veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom and a Bronze Star recipient. He had served with the Nebraska State Patrol for 5 years and is believed to be the oldest recruit to complete the academy. He is survived by his wife and 2 adult children. He was 51.
Police Officer Michael Vincent Langsdorf, North County Police, Cooperville, Missouri. End of watch Sunday, June 23, 2019. Police Officer Michael was shot and killed after responding to a call at 6250 Page Avenue involving a man attempting to cash a fraudulent check at 4:40 p.m. He was shot several minutes after contacting the suspect at the business. The man who shot him was taken into custody. Officer Langsdorf had served at the North County Police Cooperative for only 3 months and had previously served with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department for 17 years. He is survived by his 2 children, fiance, and parents. Age 40.
Deputy Sheriff Troy Chisholm. End of watch June 25th. Deputy Sheriff Troy Chisholm was shot and killed while responding to a disturbance call in the 5200 block of East Troy Road in Avon at 2 p.m. He was shot by a subject who then barricaded himself inside the home. The suspect was arrested and taken into custody without incident the next day. Deputy Chisholm served with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office for 4.5 years. He also served as a paramedic with the Fulton County EMA and as a member of the West Central Special Response Team. He is survived by his wife, age 39, tour 4 years, 6 months.
Detective Luis Alvarez. Detective Alvarez died as the result of cancer that he developed following his assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site following the 9/11 terrorist attack. Detective Alvarez is survived by his wife, 3 sons, parents, 3 siblings.
Guys, thank you everybody for coming out. Just one quick thing. I don't know if y'all get the newsletters we write for the monthly stuff, but just something that stood out to me was a call that Langsdorf was responding to. Sometimes whenever y'all get out if anybody who's not law enforcement and you see an officer talking to somebody and it seems a little tense, but it seems like something simple, and I know I get this, why are you so uptight? But he was simply responding to a fraudulent check. Like, that's it. It wasn't an armed domestic disturbance. It wasn't some hot call. It was just somebody trying to cash a fraudulent check. It was a very simple situation, which we would simply refer to as a paper call. But it's situations like that. I mean, that guy, the suspect in that case, then opened up fire, killing the officer. But it's situations like that why you see law enforcement always up to it could be a very simple interaction. But it's stuff like that keeps us on high alert, these situations. It's very realistic. It happens, just like we read about it happens. So sometimes a very simple situation can turn deadly. But thank you guys for coming out. I think right now our loop is going to be, when I said it was down to that sidewalk, across the boardwalk, loop around downtown, across the bridge, across the Riverwalk through the Navy boat docks, and then once we get through that walkthrough, we take a right, come up to the pavement, come back out to 90, and then straight back across the bridges. And Once we hit Elmira, we'll just come down in here, and that's right at the full mile. So, and then after that, we can reload water and drinks. If the weather's not too bad, we'll go back out and get the other 10.